call.
Mayor Conita Gurulea Hinon.
Present.
Councilor David G. Romero.
Present.
Councilor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Councilor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Councilor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Ulibarri, would you do the moment of silence, please?
A moment of silence for all the employees that work for the city of Las Vegas, our council, our mayor, the schools, everybody that's involved with our city. A moment of silence for all of us.
Thank you very much. Approval of the agenda?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Councilor Romero.
Madam Mayor, I have a question. You called this meeting to, you scheduled this meeting and you named it organizational meeting. As far as I read, does not meet the charter as far as an organizational meeting. Section 2.07, the governing body rules of procedure. This agenda does not have a review of mission and vision statement. No mayor pro tem. The clerk position. I think it would be important to address all the interim positions that have been placed by the city manager. And those are concerns that I have, and I'd ask my fellow colleagues on the council that, if it's an organizational meeting, I think all these items should be discussed and we should address them. What concerns me is if we continue with this meeting, will this meeting constitute our organizational meeting and we can't address those other matters?
Actually not, because if you recall, during the work sessions that we scheduled, we discussed in clear detail the vision and the mission, so that has already been accomplished. Initially, I had called the organizational meeting to include all 4 positions, but we had also discussed during those work sessions the deferment of the city manager and city clerk to another meeting. That is fairly consistent with what's occurring at the state level. I checked with Municipal League, and that's consistent. So at this point in time, because the discussion of the vision and the mission has already been addressed during our work sessions, we are going to move forward with what we haven't addressed at this point.
And I guess I asked, it was discussed but never agreed upon.
Yes, we did agree upon. That's why they come back to us with a work session. And we're still finalizing that, if you recall. But yes, those have already been addressed. Councilor Romero?
Okay, with that, then I guess, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. If we could move it.
Mayor,
Okay.
may I?
Well, he's got the floor. Let him, do you yield the floor to Councilor? Yes, I do. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Before taking that motion, I would request to just make a quick statement. One of my constituents did call me and expressed to me that the agenda might possibly not meet the specificity requirements for the Open Meetings Act, in that the names of the persons to be appointed are not included in the action items of the agenda under the business items. And so I did call the Attorney General's office yesterday, and I spoke to a Mr. Delman, who is in charge of the OMA, regulations and everything. And my reason for calling was not to derail anything, but to find out how we could fix it so that we could have the meeting that was planned for today.
Okay.
And I explained that we didn't receive the agendas until, after 5 on Friday, and I couldn't call the city manager's office, the Attorney General's office at that time. And so I did call him first thing yesterday morning.
Okay.
And he said that the best thing to do is that, while it probably does not meet the specificity requirement, he said that as long as we agree that we would not do this again for future appointments, that those names are included, and that we have it be made a part of the record today that the council recognizes that those names were not there and that this agenda may not possibly, and I'm making those statements because
Public.
it's not for sure, But if someone would decide that they want to bring a challenge, we have it on record and we have it on file that we did recognize that error and that we will not do it again.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad you addressed that, Counselor Casey. I'll be very frank with you. I have the original agenda that I prepared and I gave to Ms. Gallegos. That agenda did have the names of the police chief and also the city attorney. Why they were not included is beyond my comprehension. Do you know what happened, Ms. Gallegos?
No, Madam Mayor, members of the council, no, I do not, but we can include them and we can proceed with the agenda.
And I would also recommend that the council, but I did include them, I can assure you that. In addition to the fact that the resumes I was uncertain of, so I did get clarification from an attorney because our attorney was unavailable until Monday, and I got an attorney to give me clarification if it was okay to release the resumes. So that's why I released the resumes. But as far as the names, they were on the agenda, I assure you that. And at this point in time, I would recommend strongly to the council that they make an amendment, that they amend the actual agenda before they adopt it to include the names. And I think that that would be better for the record.
And I did explain to Mr. Delman that in the past, the names have always appeared.
Yes,
So
of
we have
course.
always been very specific about that. And I said this was probably just an oversight,
That's all.
but we want to make sure that we do things by the book.
And that's why we released the resume, and that's why we released the contract with the name. So those names should have been during the preparation of this agenda on the actual agenda. So if I can get someone to make a motion to amend the agenda to include the names, that would be acceptable.
Madam Mayor, I'll be happy to make that
In
motion.
addition to everything we discussed.
I would like to amend the agenda to include the names of the appointees for city attorney, Esther Garduño Montoya, and for the item on the police chief, Jerry Delgado.
Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor,
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
You don't want discussion on that?
We
motion?
can have discussion. Well, did you?
Yeah.
I wanted to amend,
Sure.
make a change to
In
the
addition?
agenda. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
If you don't mind, thank you. I'd like to have an executive session prior or after public input.
Okay, and what is your executive session for? It's not on the agenda.
Pardon me?
What is your executive session?
To
motion
discuss
for?
personnel matters as permitted by
Okay,
Section
and-
1015-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act,
Okay,
NMSA 1978.
okay, and what is the personnel matter that you'd like to discuss, Councilor?
We'd like to discuss the contracts and the candidates.
Okay, actually, we're not going to go into executive for that reason, and let me tell you why. Because they're not employees. In order to discuss a personnel matter in an executive session, they have to be employees of the city. So
So we can
they-
discuss it here.
Yes, it's going to be open. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have our first, we have a second roll call, please.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
No.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is public input. We have Mr. Robert Gutierrez, support for Chief of Police appointee.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name
Good
is Robert
afternoon, Mr.
Gutierrez. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
It's been a while since I've seen all you. I've been a little hiding, I guess, enjoying my retirement. It's been 3 years, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. But I wanted to say a few things about a good friend of mine who is Jerry Delgado. You know, when you look at Jerry, you see a man there that he's not the biggest guy. He's not the biggest in physical stature, but what he lacks in physical stature, I can assure you that he makes up for it in heart. The size of his heart, the size of his loyalty, and his determination when he's given a challenge. And that I can definitely attest to. Jerry's always been a devoted, friend to me. He's somebody that, to me, we can go a year without talking, and if I needed something, he would be right there for me. I guarantee it. You know, Jerry Delgado is a devoted father. He's a devoted husband, and most recently a devoted and loving grandfather to a beautiful and adorable little girl named Ebony, who just happens to be here. She's a future Ninja Warrior. You guys ever seen the Ninja Warriors? She actually works out at a Ninja Warrior gym, and she does some amazing things. It's pretty cool. But you know, I won't take too long. But one of the things that, you know, when Jerry told me that he applied for this job, my first reaction was why. Like, I was just like, man, it's, to be honest with you, it's tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill climb. I told him. And we talked a little bit about it, and we, you know, and I'm not going to bring up negative things about the police department, but I think we all know that there could be things that could be changed for the better. Let's just put it that way. And I think that, you know, Jerry, he said, you know, with all these things, I've been getting calls. I get these calls from people. I see officers, and he says, man, I want to make some changes to this department, and I think I can. I have plans. I have things with my experience and what I can do. I think I can really make a difference. And I said, man, you know what? That's commendable. I really respect that. Because to be honest with you, I wouldn't do it myself. I'll be honest with you. I enjoy being retired. I enjoy being able to go and make money whenever I want to, and I enjoy the peace of mind without the stress and the conflict that comes with this job. But one thing that tells you about Jerry's character and his character as a man is that he could make more money being retired with his pension and working for a private consulting agency that he's doing right now. But he's not doing this job. He's not accepting this job as the chief for the money. He's accepting it because he's from Las Vegas. He's from Las Vegas. He has roots in this town. He has a genuine care for the police department. He started there. That's where he started his law enforcement career. He worked there for, I believe it was 4 years. You know, back in the day, we had a chief named Albert Modis. I don't know if you folks remember Albert Modis. I came in 2000 to the police department. I had already started my career in law enforcement with the New Mexico State Police. I was a state police officer for 8 years. Due to many reasons, moves and stuff like that, back then they moved you wherever they wanted to, but we wanted to move back here. My wife's from here. I left the state police and I came to work over here for Las Vegas Police Department. When I did that, I was a little reluctant, you know, I'll be honest, coming to work for a small department. But when I came over here, I was pleasantly surprised at the professionalism of all these guys. They put us through training, and the training that I went through was just as good as the State Police Academy. It was amazing. I was so impressed, and I was proud. I was very proud to be a part of this department. And you know, again, not to get negative, but unfortunately, things have kind of slipped a little bit through the years. From 2000 to 2018 that we're in now, things have kind of slipped with the department. There's been many chiefs, and I'm not going to just point fingers at one, or things have kind of gone up and down, and things right now I think are at a standstill. But I think Jerry is your man. I think he's the guy that can come in here. You know, he's like a true Marine. He says, you know, he's a Marine veteran. And every Marine that I know, they take a challenge. And when they take a challenge, they get it done, right? Mr. Hal? Hoorah, right? Aren't you a Marine?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Much respect, sir. So, you know, with that said, you know, I don't want to take up too much time, but for what it's worth, I mean, I'm not a political person. I don't do things like this very often, but this means a lot to me. The police department still means a lot to me also. You know, I'm very good friends with Chris Lopez. He's a great guy. I'm glad he got the appointment to the sheriff, and I wish him the best of luck. I pray for you guys. God bless you, and I wish you the best. And my prayers are that you guys would approve of Mr. Jerry Delgado and give him a chance. Give him a chance. If he gets that chance, you have my assurance and my endorsement that he's going to make some positive changes in that department. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. The next person we have is Mr. Lalo Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all you other people. You know, to me, it's really, I was going to say some positive things for a lot of people, but I changed my mind because this is a very cruel world. It's really a shame and a disgrace to see that we have nothing but robots working in the city of Las Vegas. Nothing but robots. They're all programmed by somebody or other. They have no feelings, no mercy, no compassion, no pity, no nothing. At least when you're dealing with a human being, there's mercy, there's pity, there's compassion, there's hope, there's faith. It's a shame and a disgrace when you have to deal with a human being that has no heart. It's really a shame. What am I supposed to do without water? My water has been turned off because supposedly I have a leak. That's what happened last year, 2 years ago. I mean, 1 month I only had a leak. It fixed itself. I have no idea how, but it fixed itself. So maybe this one will fix itself too. But it's really a shame and a disgrace to see that they leave a person without water, without any consideration of no bathing, no washing, no feeding. The dogs are going without any water. Everything is going out without water at my household. It is like I haven't a lot. It's not like I have a lot of money, like a lot of rich people that can just say, oh, go ahead and fix it. I live in a fixed income. It's amazing to see that a drop of water is much more important or more valuable than the life of a human being. It's really a shame. All you robots, I hope you all have a short circuit and you all end up in a goddamn junkyard.
Okay,
I really do hope so.
Mr.
I hope you all
Sanchez,
get cancer and
you're out
die.
of order. Would you please calm down, or I'm going to have you removed from the chamber. Thank you very much. Continue.
Madam Mayor, that concludes the public input forum. The next, we go on to business items. The first item is confirmation to appoint City Attorney Esther Garduño Montoya.
Okay,
Madam
may I
Mayor?
have Ms. Garduño, where are you? And Ms. Kim Delgado and Mr. Roy Montalban, would you please come forward? Montalban, I think it is. Montalban. Have a seat, please. Could we pull out 2 more chairs? Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Mr. Delgado. Okay, this is the interviewing committee, Mr. Montalban and Ms. Delgado, and myself, who served on the interview committee for Ms. Esther Garduño Montoya. And what I want to do is do this in an open forum. I think it's fair to everybody here. If the council has questions, please direct your questions either to myself first, and I will then, or ask for permission to take the floor. You can then at that point in time direct it to the city attorney, and she's prepared to respond to any questions that you have. And I believe we've all got her resume, so let's get started. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Any questions on the appointment? Councilor Howell first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Is Ms. Montoya?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I've heard a lot of accolades about you, and I think that's great. I really was impressed about all the comments that I received from different people that I asked about you. And I understand that you did well when you were here as a city attorney also, and I'm really glad to know that. The only thing that I have concern about is the contract that was developed. And I don't know how we're going to have that discussion, but I'm not agreeing with the contract.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead and open it up for discussion, the contract as well. You can discuss your concerns. That's
Okay.
an open document. It's a public document.
The reason why I'm concerned about this document is because the council has not had any discussion on the contract prior to it being developed and also having a name on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think that the council needs to have discussion in regards to this, specifically about compensation and also about termination clause. Those are the type of things that I think that we need to discuss as a council.
Okay, well,
I can't, I don't think that, I mean, I don't mind approving Ms. Esther Garduño Montoya
Okay.
as an attorney, but the contract is where I would not agree with.
Okay, I think that if you're not pleased with the contract, this is a good time to discuss it. In the past, when we had a contract negotiation like this, we would openly discuss it in an open meeting, and any concerns that we had on the contract were on the record. So that's easy. We've done this forever, you know, the, what, 10 years that I've been here. So I would strongly suggest that, first of all, let me make a statement. I did speak to Danielle Smith, who prepared the contract, and the name is on there, but they also understand, the employee, that the terms and conditions of the contract, one, can change. Two, there's nothing binding in this contract, just the name, until the council makes a determination to approve not only the appointment, but also the contract. So that's something that we can look at, and if you have questions, Councilor Howell, I really strongly advise that your comments be on the record.
Okay, so why $100,000?
First of all, we have paid every attorney $100,000. And I'm going to make a statement, and that is not to discredit any past attorney, but the past two attorneys that we have did not have the municipal experience that Ms. Garduño has. Actually, she has twice as much experience as the other two attorneys that we've had.
But the council has not agreed to a compensation of $100,000.
Okay,
So,
well-
and we've not had any discussion on what we should apply in the.
Actually, the terms and
compensation.
condition of the contracts, I think those are administrative, but the appointment of is up to the council, not the terms and conditions of the contract negotiation. But I attached it in there for the sake, and that's something that's fair. We
But the
paid every attorney
council is also responsible for the budget.
Yes,
right?
and I've checked
So-
with Anne Marie,
so
and
the
that
budget-
falls within the budget.
Right, so the budget requirements or amounts that are in the budget should be agreed upon with
Actually,
the council.
the way it works, Councilor Howell, once the final budget is approved, which it has been, then I confer with the city manager, and the city manager and I come up with a term and
When the-
condition consistent with the budget as well.
When the budget was approved, we did not know the compensation for the city attorney or the police chief.
Oh, the compensation for the attorney has been consistent, Councilor Howell.
But we have not agreed upon it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, if
Madam
you
Mayor,
don't, okay, Councilor Howell, let me ask you a question. If you don't feel that Ms. Garduño is worth $100,000 with her extensive experience and knowledge in municipal government, and essentially, I'm going to defend this because she's the only attorney that we have within the locality that, let me put it this way, within the last two appointments, that has the municipal experience and expertise.
I don't.
And we compensated the other two attorneys $100,000, and I don't understand why we would argue her salary of $100,000. I just don't.
First, I'm not arguing. I am not disagreeing with her accolades and her experience. I've already mentioned that she's a very qualified person.
Yes, she is.
But what I'm mentioning is the process that this council has a responsibility for to agree upon compensation and the actual contract for the four appointees that we have. I think
Actually,
that should be our
if I'm correct,
responsibility.
the charter calls for your confirmation of the appointment, not for your confirmation of the contract, Councilor Howell.
But the confirmation would include compensation
That is
and
not
contract.
true. That is incorrect.
Well, I disagree with that.
That's
respectfully.
incorrect. The charter is very specific. Okay, but I will have your, I will note that. Any other comments?
On the contract. So
You did, what is it?
I have a question about item 1, the term.
Okay,
It says that the contract will begin at whatever time the council approves it, and will continue in effect until the day after the next city election in March. The next city election is in 2020,
that was an
and
error.
that,
Thank you for catching that.
and I can't support that.
I got you.
a contract should be from fiscal year to fiscal year, not from election to election.
But what I'm going to do, because the actual charter states that they have a year within that contract, is start the contract from August till August and let it run through there, because at that point in time, we won't be having an election. So at that point in time, we can determine if we're going to continue with the candidate.
This makes me very uncomfortable because of past history with this council, when we wanted to discuss one of the appointees that we wanted to have removed, and you had assured us at the time that we voted on this person, that if there was a problem, that you would listen to our concerns and remove that person if we wanted that, and you didn't do it.
I waited for the contract to expire.
And
That's when
so,
we took care of business.
and so that was, in my view, and I'm just speaking for myself, that was not taking care of business as you state, because the person, in my opinion, was not doing his job adequately, especially in terms of dealing with employees. And this contract also, under the termination clause, 8B, says the contract shall end automatically after the city election to be held in March of whenever. So again, I do not agree with that language at all.
Where is that at?
It's on the
2B?
third page.
Okay,
It's 8B, page 3.
okay, hold on. And actually, that should have, the contract shall end automatically after the city election to be held in March of whenever, or until the day after the runoff election. That's pretty consistent with what we did with the last contract. Danielle prepared them.
I know, and I didn't agree with those either,
How would you recommend that?
that they go from the date of hire to a year.
It's exactly. Now, very good. I'm glad you stated that, because the charter is very specific. It says that the contracts must be for 1 year in the charter. A year. And it says there the contracts must be for a annual. So it's a year. Round. So that's.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with this language, and I think that
Okay,
in the
so-
future, when we hire people, that we should do our best to hire them at the beginning of the fiscal year in July, and I know that that wasn't possible this year,
I tried to get them in this January, in the end, but that didn't work.
but I know you did, but that's not the fiscal year. Every entity that I have ever worked with, worked at, or even contracts that I have had, always start with the fiscal year and end at the end of the fiscal year. So that when people are employed, they know that they're going to work from July 1st to June 30th of the next year. And I think that the city should do the same thing. It should not be from election to election.
No, and I'm not looking at election to election. I'm actually looking from year to year. So I'm looking from August to August, okay? Instead of July through July, I'm looking from August to August. That's a year. Because that's what it states in the charter.
Okay, and would that conflict, and I don't know if the law even exists, and I should have looked it up, but there used to be a law that you could not encumber money for.
No,
the
you're
next
talking
fiscal
about the
year.
violation of the Abatement Act. We are not going to go there. We will not
Okay.
encumber the funds prior to. Those monies have been allocated prior to, but there's not going to be an encumbrance.
Okay.
In the past, where we had problems with that is when we had adopted not only a contract, but they were tying contracts in. That's why I'm the one that was responsible for not allowing 2-year contracts, because then the violation of the Abatement Act applies. So we have to be very careful of that one and also tying future successors into contracts.
we don't wanna do
So
that.
I wrote an entire opinion on that, and I did give it to the mayor and the city manager at that point in time. There is no violation of either at this point in time. As long as we do not go over 1 year, we are not encumbering funds that exceed the 1 year.
Okay.
So there's no violation. I did a huge research study on that, got the paper if you want to ever look at that. So I was adamant about that fight, and I won it, which is good. So I agree with that, but I do have that legal opinion that I wrote myself, if you're interested. Okay, and I understand that. This was written by, like I say, Danielle. I don't have a problem with this because this is something we've run. We have used in the past, and I will look into your concerns, but I also would like for you to send me via email, if that's okay with you, any of your concerns that you have to make certain I don't miss anything on the contract. The contract is still up for negotiation. We have not, that's not finalized. This is just a sample of what's to come, and that's something that we can work with Danielle, because we've talked about it. I changed a couple of things already on it, and I wanted to make certain that we're covering all aspects of that, but it is for 12 months, and that's my goal. Okay, thank you,
And
Councilor.
the
Yes,
other issue that still kind of rubs me the wrong way is under item 2C,
Okay.
where if city council members seek to obtain counsel as to a specific matter or a legal opinion as to matters of city business, they shall have the approval of the governing body through consensus at a regular special meeting of the council in order for the city attorney to undertake the requested work. And this language was a compromise that we made last year. when
Yes, and we
hired,
adopted it as a resolution.
Through that other attorney, and I still have a little bit of a problem with that. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but
I think our biggest concern, and we discussed this openly in a meeting, Councilor Casey, was that we don't want to tie up the city attorney with legal opinions from the council. We have municipal league, and you can seek legal opinions from Randy Van Flick or any of the attorneys over there. So we are paying for that, for the council. So you do have access to them. I never personally, when I was a counselor, I never ever went to the city attorney, ever, for an opinion. I pretty much researched everything.
well, I've
myself.
not had a reason to go to a city attorney
Yeah.
while I've been here, but I think that if there's an issue that we feel is really urgent and we need a response, like, for example, if I hadn't been able to get a hold of anybody at the Attorney General's office, and I did sit on the phone listening to horrible music, I don't know how long while I waited. You know, I could have called our city attorney and said, can you tell me what to do? Since,
What I would have
you know,
done is call our city manager and ask her, because she can get a legal opinion for you. Just send her the message, and she can get a legal opinion for you. Okay?
Well, I think that, again.
But let me tell you something else that I'm very concerned about, and I'm going to make it public, is if the municipal league attorneys are not responding to the needs of the council, then I have a concern, because we pay them for that purpose. And I always used to go to municipal league, and then I used to research a lot and go to independent attorneys outside the city. So if you feel that we're not getting, they're not being responsive, then we don't have to continue with municipal league. I can make that statement public, so just so you know. If they're not responding to your needs, because that's what they're paid for, then they should. Okay? That's something we can discuss too. Wait. Any other questions, Councilor? She's got the floor.
Comment that she made.
Okay.
Just a comment that she
You want
made.
to yield the floor to Mr.
Yes, I do.
Councilor? Okay.
Just a comment that she made as far as, the council, their participation with the attorney. The language that you just used, why can't we put that into the contract to where we could get the opinion of, we can get the.
Because we already passed it to resolution, Councilor.
Can't we do a new one?
We can, but it would have to go through consensus, and if one of us disagrees, it won't pass. We went into lengthy discussion when we approved that resolution, Councilor, if you recall.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
I just have to mention that.
No, those are my concerns on the contracts, and it's the same for the other
Okay, and
contract,
please
too.
get your concerns to me. The contract is not clad iron. at this point in time. It is open for negotiation. The only thing we want today is the appointment, but I did want to give you, one, the resume, and I also wanted to provide you with the service contract. This way, you can provide to me any concerns and opinions, send them to my email. I will gladly look at them, and I will sit down with our city attorney before we finalize the contract.
Okay, a comment that you made earlier, and I don't remember your exact words, but the gist of it was that when we vote on the appointment of these people, we are also approving their contracts.
No.
No?
You're approving the appointment because that's consistent with the charter. The contract is up still for negotiation, and the attorney knows that. We've discussed that in detail.
And then when do we get to,
Once Danielle, because she's kind of busy right now, so she might not start immediately in a week or two, or I'm hoping 2 weeks at least. But with the minute I get your comments, then I will go ahead and forward those to the city attorney. And then we'll sit down, and then we'll go ahead and we can do a consensus via email, and she can also forward that contract to you with your concerns. Don't worry, I'll make sure that you guys get your.
okay, I have a little bit of a problem with that myself, but.
Okay, well, how would you handle it?
I'll wait until others speak.
Okay. Counselor Howell, I think, are you?
No, I think,
We already yielded the floor back to her, so now the floor is yours if you have a question.
no, I already mentioned the
Okay,
question.
Counselor.
Thank-
Okay,
Madam Mayor, my comments
sir.
were just for her. I mean, it wasn't, I had.
so it's a continuation of yours.
It was just-
You
Yeah, but
yielded
he
the
still
floor.
has
Gotcha.
other.
Okay, do you want the floor, Counselor Domenico?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I just
Counselor.
want to make a statement. Ms. Montoya and Mr. Delgado, I just, on my behalf, I feel that the process has not been transparent. We are receiving info at the last minute. We weren't notified of this meeting until 5 p.m. on Friday. We received the resumes via email, but I didn't know about the email until 5 p.m. when Madam Mayor texted me to look at my email. Decisions are being made with no collaboration with the council. We are voted by our constituents to represent them with transparency and integrity. They expect us to do due diligence and carefully review all that we vote on. I have a problem, I was able to meet Mr. Delgado. There are some questions that I feel that are on the verge of, if I ask those questions here, today, they could be a legal matter. I sort of agree with Mr. Howell, where we should have discussed some of these items in executive session.
We cannot discuss a personnel matter that does
Mayor.
not, well, I must tell you, and I've
I have the
explained
floor
that.
real quick.
Yes, I understand that, but go ahead and continue. I've already addressed that personnel matter, that's consistent with policy, but go ahead and continue. I'm writing everything so I can rebuttal.
Madam Mayor, I was a chairman for 4 years at West Las Vegas. I know exactly what you can and cannot discuss in executive session.
Okay, then why are
I've
you,
hired superintendents, and we did the whole interview process in executive session, consistent, within the
that
law.
was your choice. See, they're
You're
not,
making it transparent, you're
No.
trying to make it transparent today.
Counselor Romero, let's face it, they are not employees of the city of Las Vegas, so that is not a personnel matter. You are incorrect with your analysis.
Mr. Attorney.
On that point, Madam Mayor, we have had executive session on other people that were going to be appointed but were not employees of the
Yes,
city
and I
yet.
allowed it.
And so why the change now?
Because of the fact that the council has held me to every single rule. So therefore, we are going to operate by every single rule. And in the past, I was very cooperative with the council. I would bend to allow the council to make statements, and I don't believe that I'm going to do that any longer because they are not employees of the city of Las Vegas, so therefore they do not fall under personnel. I've already checked this.
Madam Mayor.
He's got the floor?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not going to argue. I know what it is. I've been through the Open Meetings Act. I know what we can and cannot discuss. I don't know what attorney, and I'd like you to disclose here publicly, since you're being so transparent, what attorney gave you that information.
Our regular attorney, Danielle Smith. No,
And I wish she was here so we could ask her.
I know, but she's handling another situation, personal matter.
So I'm curious, and no disrespect to Mr. Silva, we have him on board, but we don't use him. You're using Danielle. I'm confused. Let's say
She's got a history with the city of Las Vegas. Over how many years, Ms. Gagos?
Well over 20, 25 years.
Exactly. Okay, any other questions?
I'm just going to state that, I apologize, for taking your time. I don't believe that I was given due diligence to, review your background information. I mean, in my opinion, I've seen superintendents being hired and no background checks, none of that we're doing, I don't know if that's been done. I think that's important to me before I vote on this tonight. So I want to apologize, no disrespect, I don't know what's going to happen, but if you aren't approved tonight, maybe the mayor will be more open and give us that information and maybe put you guys on the agenda again. I don't know what's going to happen, but if that is the case, don't take it personally. If I'm given that information within enough time,
Okay,
that's all I say. I'm sorry.
okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Counselor Casey.
We received the agenda and the copies of the contracts Friday.
That's okay, within the 72-hour period.
Yes.
You met that
But we did
requirement.
not get the resumes until yesterday.
Okay, and I
That is
don't,
not a 72-hour period.
okay, yes, but if you look at your agenda, in the bottom it says, "Our final agenda with any other things that we have added to the agenda is a 24-hour notice." And you did receive your notice.
Those are with agenda items, not with.
That is an agenda,
not with
that was an
resumes.
agenda item that was added to the agenda, so it met the 24-hour notice. Plus, I was unaware, as I've told you, if I should release the resume. I was unaware. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Is there going to be a conflict? Is there going to be a personnel matter if we hire that individual? When I got confirmation that no, go ahead and release it, then I released it.
Madam Mayor, I believe that there's legal precedence that has been set in another state, and I can't remember which one it is, where not only were the resumes of the appointees released, but the resumes and applications of all persons who applied for the positions.
Yeah, but consistent with the charter, Councillor Casey, it is the appointment of the mayor. My appointment is Ms. Orduño here and Mr. Delgado. No
I
other
understand
appointments.
that. However, if we request all applications and all resumes, there is legal precedent to give us those.
Yes, you can ask for those.
Yeah. we can
You didn't ask
them.
for those.
I didn't ask for those
Mhm.
because I didn't learn of this until I did some research this afternoon.
Okay, you can ask for those. I don't have a problem. We have them all, correct?
Yes,
They're all in the office. That's
I
not a
would-
problem.
I would like to request them all.
Okay,
Go ahead. I yield my time to you.
okay, she's.
I just find it odd, Madam Mayor, is, question us having, asking the attorney of us having the resumes, yet the committee that interviewed was no problem giving it to them, yet we're the elected body.
Yes, they reviewed, well, they were part of the interview committee, yes.
That's
And
all.
that's rightfully so. See, because it's consistent with the charter. Let me answer your questions. First of all, you state that you didn't have enough time. That is absolutely incorrect. All that's required is a 72-hour notice, 24 hours prior to any other additional items. That was met. So that is untrue. Your statement is untrue. The resumes do not take more than an hour or two to review. So I don't understand why it would be so complicated to review a resume in one 24-hour period. 2 resumes. I could see if you had to review 10 or 15 resumes. You had to review 2 resumes, Councilor Romero. In addition to that, the council, it is my duty as the mayor to appoint. I gave you the notice, I've met the 72 hours, I've met the 24-hour notice. All the information has been provided to you within that requirement. I, in the past, as a city councilor, never had a problem, Councilor Romero, reviewing my documents within 72 hours. So I don't understand why it would be so difficult for you to review your documents, and I'm talking hundreds of pages of review in 72 hours. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The concerns that I have, again, is under the termination clause, it says the person that we're going to be hiring serves at the will of the governing body. Now, if the governing body, if they serve at the will of the governing body, then it's our responsibility to really have a comprehensive discussion on who we're going to appoint or hire. And it's very, very
And we're
important.
doing that right here.
I don't feel that this is a comprehensive discussion.
Why
I think
not?
that that's one reason why I wanted to go into executive session or to have a discussion before they come up to us. We wanted to talk about the contract. We wanted to ask questions about the resumes to their contact information that they gave us. All of those things. When you hire somebody, you want to make a comprehensive review of their background and also of their expertise. And we, as a governing body, need to have consensus on who we are going to approve.
Okay.
And
now-
it is our responsibility to approve your appointees,
Exactly.
correct? And if we
Absolutely.
that's why it's
That's correct.
important for us to get involved.
Okay, Counselor Howell.
And I don't believe that we were involved.
Okay, Counselor Howell.
And that's the concern that I have.
I understand your point, but that's why we are having an open meeting here today, because I want you involved. I am not going to hide anything from the public. You have asked for transparency. I am giving you 100% transparency. If you have questions of this individual, you go ahead and it's your opportunity to ask Ms. Garduño. It is your opportunity to ask the committee for their concerns, recommendations, whatever you have. We want to be transparent. We are going to be transparent.
Madam Mayor, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that our
That's what you
process.
said in the past, Counselor Howell.
No, I did not. I'm saying that the process that we're using is very concerning to us. We needed to be involved. And I mentioned that the last council meeting, and I really think that we needed to get some discussion on these contracts and also on the people that are in front of us.
It's an open discussion, Counselor Howell.
I guess you don't understand what I'm
No,
saying.
I understand
That's-
precisely
no,
what you're saying,
I
Counselor
don't
Howell.
think you do,
No,
Madam
you
Mayor.
don't understand the process, Counselor Howell. The process
I
is the
do
mayor
understand the
appoints.
council. I do.
I set up a committee of two very
Madam Mayor,
viable, I got the floor.
We both have the floor because we're talking to each
Okay, well,
other.
I'm not going to argue a process. The process is consistent with the charter, Counselor Howell. Now, you have an opportunity to interview this woman if you have concerns. You have an opportunity, any one of you, to ask this committee members any questions that you might have. You all have questioned the issue of transparency. It is not going to get more transparent than it is here today. I have in the past, for 10 years, sat with a different mayor, and this was never the process. He never allowed the council to openly ask any questions. We either discussed the contract, the terms and conditions of that contract, we either approved his recommendation or we did not. And I am doing all that I can to work with this council, and I am giving you the opportunity in an open public meeting, Councillor Howell, to ask questions.
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Casey.
speaking for myself, and I think I understand Councilor Howell is trying to say, is that the transparency for us hasn't happened until tonight.
Well, see,
And,
according to the chart, and I know what you're
and you
saying.
keep saying the charter, but I'm sorry to say this, but you interpret the charter however you want.
No, I
and-
interpret it consistent with policy.
And, I have never seen policy because all policies are different. The ordinances are different, the charter doesn't match the ordinances, the rules of governing and procedure don't match anything. And so it's like whatever you pick and choose. And that has created a huge problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem until we get it fixed. And I know we're working on it, but it's still a problem that we have right now. And so for us to be expected to come in and say, yes, we want these people when we don't know them. I didn't even know, and I know Kim, I know her well, I have a lot of respect for her. I consider her my friend, but I didn't even know she had a nephew until she told me. And so that kind of, was like, geez, I didn't know that she had any relatives that were interested in working for the city. And that shouldn't have anything to do with it, and it doesn't, but I would not want to ask any questions in public that would embarrass any of our committee members or the appointees. And that is why I think we should have gone into executive session so that we could ask things, because I don't know about the other counselors, but I had a lot of phone calls from former counselors here, former city managers, former police officers, current police officers. I've had relatives of Mrs. Montoya call me up. I've had other people call me up, including my own sister. And so, it's like, and I've heard, I can't say anything about Mrs. Montoya. Everything that I heard was glowing recommendations. I can't say that about Mr. Delgado. I got good and bad. And so without being able to discuss these in executive session, we don't really have input or the ability to ask the questions that we would like to ask, because I certainly don't want to say something out of turn, get myself sued by anybody, or embarrass anybody publicly. And so for us to be, all of a sudden have this transparency here to discuss everything in open session in front of everybody here sounds wonderful, but in reality it is not. It's not fair to the appointees, and it's not fair to us, because we cannot participate fully as you think that we are.
Well, the Councillor Casey, with regard to that, as discussed with you, first of all, the charter is very specific, and we've all read it, I hope. It says there the mayor will appoint, the council will confirm. I'm sticking to that policy. Second of all, we can only go into executive session in a personnel matter if that individual is employed through the city. They are not employed. So therefore, it is an open session discussion. And I will stand my ground on this one. Councillor, thank you very much. Councillor Olivari, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. What is the pleasure of the board? Do we have any questions for the candidate, or do we have any questions for the committee members? Councillor Casey.
Madam Mayor, not a question, but a statement. And I do respect the committee members who served on the committee, Mr. Montalban, Ms. Delgado, Ms. Ortega, Mr. Crow. I have a lot of respect for these people. They're community leaders. They've worked in the community all their lives. They're wonderful citizens, and I don't have any doubt that what the recommendations that they made in good faith. But I cannot support, I will not vote yes on either one until I can see a contract that is written correctly. And with
The contract is up for negotiation. I've discussed it already.
Well, and
It's the appointment. We're not discussing the contract, we are discussing the appointment.
I will not vote on the appointment
On the confirmation of the appointment. That's what we're
until the
discussing.
contract is correct and I have it in front of me, and I am assured of the language that is in the contract. And that's my statement. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, you also realize that if the appointment is not confirmed today, then I cannot bring that same appointment back to the council,
And why is that?
because that's in the charter. Okay,
The charter says that specifically?
yes, I read that, and I was very concerned about
I would
that
like
as
to
well.
see
Madam Mayor, could you,
Well, look for it.
I'd like to
Refer
make a
charter.
motion to recess. So maybe Madam Mayor could show us exactly where, because
I don't know where it's at. You can look for it or talk to the attorney.
I'd like to make a motion to recess for 5 minutes so we can clarify that.
Second.
Okay, we don't need a motion. We can just go ahead and recess for 5 minutes. Go ahead and look for that, please. Shall recess for 5. That's not for you, that's an administrative function. It's up to you. Right.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to reconvene.
Okay, we're reconvened. Okay, what is the pleasure of the board? There's been discussion, there seems to, do we find anything?
Not in the
The charter? No, nothing, but there
I
is some.
found no restrictions on resubmitting the name or a person for appointment.
No, there is no restrictions, but it says if the, and I know I read it, I have it at home. I'd have to go home and look for it, and I don't have that time right now. But it did state that if we do not accept this appointment, that we would have to come back with a new appointment. And I'd have to find that policy to be absolutely certain, but I will find it. I'm certain of that. Cassandra, you'll be looking as well together? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so with regards, I just spoke to our clerk, and the council does not have the authority to negotiate the contract. That is something that is an administrative function. Correct.
It's the city manager along with the city attorney.
Exactly. They're the ones that handle the administrative part of that. The council's duty here today is to confirm the appointment. So I'm still willing to work with the council to provide any questions or comments to me via email to ensure that our attorney and our city manager does look at the contract. Because it was the city attorney who reviewed the contract, who made the recommendations. I did not make those recommendations to the city attorney. That is within her due diligence. So that's why the contract went out as it did. But that does not mean that I am not willing to accept recommendations from the council, but that is clearly an administrative function. So let's focus. The duty of the council here today is to confirm the appointment of our city attorney. And with that said, I need to, what is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Olivari?
and approval to confirm to appoint City Attorney Mr. Rodrigo Mota.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second? Again, I will ask for a second. Okay, motion dies. Thank you very much, committee members, and thank you very much, Ms. Garduño. I do apologize. I know you all. I wanted to thank the committee, first of all, for your due diligence in interviewing this exceptionally qualified woman for the job. I'm very disappointed today, Ms. Garduño, that you were not confirmed. Their duty of the council is not to execute the contract. You know that. You're an attorney. That's an administrative function. You're exceptionally qualified for the job. This is a huge disservice to the city of Las Vegas. The individuals who served in this capacity, Mr. Montivan and Ms. Delgado, are very reputable individuals within the community. Your reputations are pristine. And again, I apologize to you because I know the hours that went into this, the review that went into this, and I want to thank you. And I do again apologize wholeheartedly, Ms. Garduño, for not getting your confirmation here today. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor?
There's nothing to discuss. Next, let's continue.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is confirmation to appoint police chief. Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. May I have Mr. Delgado, Mr. Crow, and Ms. Ortega, please come up. Good evening. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, good, very much. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to open it up to the council. Any questions, comments?
Madam Mayor, I just wish you would be more open and willing to work with this council and give us more time. Can't believe that you just let, I believe, a good person.
I didn't let her go, you did.
Well, you weren't open as to giving us
isn't-
more time.
Councillor Romero, I've already stated to you, you had 72 hours to review. You had the 24-hour agenda. There's no excuse for your disservice to this community. There's no excuse for you not showing up to meetings. There's no excuse for your behavior anymore. That is dereliction of duty on your part. And if you really feel, Councilor Romero, that you cannot serve this community, why don't you just step down and let somebody else take over, somebody that really cares about this community? I am tired of your constant complaining in open public meetings about the mayor not allowing you to do this. I have served in the council for 10 years. And I never complained to the mayor. I came prepared and I did my job. I showed up to meetings. I missed one meeting in 10 years. But I was prepared. And I never undermined the efforts, one, of the city, the employees, or this administration. And that's all you have done so far. So don't complain anymore about the mayor. It is your duty to either confirm or not confirm. That is your duty. Not to negotiate the contract. That is an administrative function. So you either do it or you don't. Councilor Romero, that is your duty.
Madam Mayor, I've never worked with a dictatorship, but I think that's...
It's not a dictator, it is a duty. I have an authority, as you do as a legislative and executive branch. And you should read that charter and familiarize yourself with it. Let's continue. Well, obviously you're not familiar with it because your duty is to confirm. It's not to set up interviews, it's not to recommend an appointment. Your duty is to confirm. Let's continue. Any other questions?
Well, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to state for myself that if you had allowed Councilor Romero or any one of us to say something after you asked Ms. Montoya to leave, we could have done something else.
If you don't confirm, Councilor Casey, what else are you going to do?
Well,
That is your duty.
we can confirm, but I will not confirm until I can see that contract has been corrected with what we want in it.
The contract is an administrative function.
I understand that, and I'm not asking to be sitting there and negotiating with Ms. Montoya or anybody else. I'm asking that we see the finalized contract before we take a vote on the confirmation. That's what I'm asking.
I assured you, Councilor Casey, in an open public meeting, that that contract would run through the council before I signed it. That means that the mayor would execute it as well as our city manager and our city attorney. I assured you of that. Your duty was to confirm. That was it.
And Madam Mayor, and I don't want to say this publicly, but I'm going to because you insist on being so transparent. There is no trust. If I trusted you to actually do what you say you're going to do, I would happily have voted right away. But I don't trust that it will be done in a certain amount of time. I don't trust that we will actually see it before you sign it. And I won't vote to confirm until I have that contract before me and I can see that it says what it is supposed to say.
Councilor Casey, in response to that statement, if anyone should have a question of trust, it's me. When you have openly, all three of you have censured me publicly and lied about me publicly, if anyone should have a question of trust, it's me, not the other way around. I have never done that to you publicly. I have never lied about you publicly, and you did. All three of you did. Okay, let's continue. Any other questions?
I didn't censure you.
No, not you. I know, understand that. I do apologize for you on that one. Questions, comments? What is the pleasure of the board?
Just want to apologize, Mr. Delgado, I know I spoke with you and I was upfront with you, I spoke to you. The process also, I always discussed it, not to say that, you're deserving, but it's the process that I'm voting against tonight, and if she wants to take, she took it with the last appointment, and I just want to say I apologize, I wish I could have had time to apologize to
The process has been followed, Councilor Romero. There's no need to apologize. There's no need, I'm the chair. There's no need to apologize for your failure to make a decision here, Councilor Romero. Yes, it is a failure. The bottom line is the process has been followed. I set up interviews to hire this candidate. It is my appointment. In the past, the mayor never did this. He just selected whoever he wanted. And this council, with one member sitting here already, approved it with no concerns whatsoever. So the process has been followed to the T. I have gone above and beyond the call of duty to allow this council to work with me, and they are refusing to work with me. They're constant complaining about organizational meetings. I am attempting to bring it forth, and I'm not getting any cooperation from the council. You, Mr. Crow, I know you are an incredible man in this community, as you are, Ms. Ortega, and I want to thank you for the hard work that we put into this. It was an all-day review and interviews of the members. You know, as you both know, as well as I do, what an exceptionally competent man we have here before us. And whatever happens, once we take the vote, Mr. Delgado, I apologize to you if you're not confirmed here today. Their duty is to confirm, not to review the contract. That is an administrative function. And I'm still attempting to work with them to provide any questions or comments. But I want to also state for the public and for the record that don't be complaining about organizational meetings, appointments, or confirmations when you can't even do your duty. What is the pleasure of the board? No excuses. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I want
Councilor.
to make a comment about this.
Yes,
before my-
Councilor Liberty.
I did get a resume from the mayor of Nevada. On Monday, I read it. It didn't take me too long to read it for both the chief of police and for our city attorney. It doesn't take that long to read a resume and see the qualifications that we had, that you guys had. You guys are awesome. But my vote is going to be to confirm you to appoint you as a police chief, Mr. Delgado.
Is that a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do I have a second? No second. Do I have a second?
A second for roll call.
Do I have a second? Second.
Is that I'm sorry.
Second, so we can do a roll call.
Roll call?
Okay. Counselor Casey?
No.
Counselor Howell?
No.
Counselor Romero?
No.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I have a motion by Counselor Olivari and a second. Motion does not carry.
Thank you very much. And again, I want to thank all three of you for your due diligence to this community. And please look at your council members very carefully in the future. Thank you very much. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I need a
There's
motion.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Do you have anything else?
I move that we adjourn.
Oh, we're still need number 3.
We
Thank
have
you.
a third item on the
Thank you.
agenda.
Thank you very much.
Approval, disapproval to reemploy all classified city employees.
Do I have a motion? What is the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve all classified employees.
Approve the reemployment of all classified city employees. Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I have a question on that.
There's a motion on the floor. We need a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Madam Mayor,
Discussion.
discussion after.
Oh, yes, question. Go ahead.
Could you describe what you mean, all classified?
All city classified
Under
employees.
state statute, they must all be reemployed after a reelection.
Okay, so the interim directors, all that, is that, are you confirming that?
They
today?
continued as interim
Yeah.
directors unless they have been appointed otherwise.
So those that are interim,
Remain interim.
Classified employees, no exempt status employees. Okay, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Okay, roll call. Thank you.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Olivari Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion
Thank you
carries.
very much. Now I need a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Councilor Olivari, I adopt the motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.